In his book, The Physics of God, Selbie approaches the unification of science and religion. He draws from the transcendent testimony of mystics the world over, as well as from the findings of string theory, David Bohm's version of quantum physics, as we've discussed earlier, quantum biology, neuroscience, and quantum physics itself, to demonstrate that a physics of God is at hand. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to the Yellow Brick Road Rash. I'm your host, Jewel, here to guide you down the famous Yellow Brick Road. However, this version of Dorothy's Road to Enlightenment will take into account deep philosophical concepts being addressed by the old and new thought leaders, exploring quantum science, as well as those addressed by leaders in modern spirituality, which paradoxically also reflect what ancient religions and societies have been saying since time immemorial. I've been on this very path for years, and now I want to bring you along, holding the light of discovery before us so we can navigate the cobblestones beneath our feet together. Our chapter today, Who Let the Dogma Out, will address more specifically how science and religion both contribute to the discussion of what is reality. But it also speaks to how each hold advancement in the conversation back from discovering what is actually the truth. You guys, before I go on, I have a personal request. Please take a minute right now and subscribe to this channel. It's super easy and doesn't commit you to a thing, but to a creator, it's like a big long hug. It's saying, I see you and I appreciate what you are sharing with me. You see, YouTube doesn't really recognize channels that don't have many subscribers, no matter how many people are actually watching. They want to see 1,000 subscribers before they will believe you are bringing valuable content to viewers. Also, I have a logistical correction to make. I've been informed that the information about my Patreon link that I've been sharing is completely incorrect. It is patreon.com/indiearthouse, INDIEARTHAUS. Patreon is an app that allows me to create a deeper community around this channel, as well as all the art we make. So when you join as a member, you are given access to this channel's Discord server so that you can have conversations with others about the topics we discuss here. I'm just figuring it all out myself, honestly. But if you want to talk about aliens, there will be a group for that. If you want to talk about existential angst, there will be a group for that, etc. I'm still setting everything up. I'm also going to throw in some stickers and other little treats at each membership level, so there's that too. So a huge thank you to those of you who have already joined. I really appreciate you. My memberships start at $2 a month, less than 1 cup of coffee each month. So remember, tip your storyteller. If you don't want to support monthly, you can always screenshot the Venmo code at the bottom right of the screen. That's just an easy way to let me know that you enjoy what I'm doing. It's all about building community though, so join me in this journey and together we will reach the Emerald City. For the next few chapters, we will be exploring Joseph Selbie's book titled The Physics of God. Google Books says, Selbie is known for creating bridges of understanding between the modern, evidence-based discoveries of science and the timeless, experience-based discoveries of the mystics. The first time I read this book, I was captivated. I hope this summary of concepts leads you to getting it and diving in deeper. It was, as all of the resources I'm bringing to light here in the channel have been, so transformative for me. I will include, of course, a link to the book in the description and show notes. Is anyone else watching Silo? I find it layered with ancient themes, which suggests also the presence of archetypal characters, a thread I hadn't fully unraveled, but can now see emerging. Even on the surface, pun intended, there are familiar patterns that resonate deeply. We just started season 2, and last night I experienced a striking synchronicity. Amidst the chaos of the silo, Judge Meadows pulls out a relic, a copy of Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I had to rewind and check and see if this moment came from Hugh Howley's original book, And sure enough, it did. Silo began as a short story called Wool, and it was released in 2011. And yet here it is, weaving Oz into its tapestry. I was floored. It's like, wow, what a significant synchronicity. I've been working intensely on my Wizard of Oz themed project, and suddenly it's popping up in a story I've only recently discovered and become captivated by. What's more, this doesn't seem tied to the current cultural buzz around Wicked. It stands apart as its own moment, almost like a psychic nudge for me to keep going. So while I don't want to dive into big spoilers, I have to mention it because since starting this project, Oz references have been showing up everywhere for me. It's as if the universe keeps winking at me. Shifting focus slightly, I want to reflect on one of Silo's central themes: the tension between safety and transparency, control versus freedom, order versus truth. The series mirrors the socio-political dynamics we are seeing play out in our world right now. Juliet represents the rebel savior, the one who believes she can free the people from the oppressive grip of the Silo's authoritarian rule. Opposing her is the mayor, who employs unethical, often sinister means to thwart her efforts. Yet his motivations are complex. He believes that unchecked freedom will destroy the fragile ecosystem of the silo. He believes the structure provided by the pact and carried out by its mayor is saving the lives of people in his trust. From the viewer's perspective, it's clear that this tension creates a dualism. Both sides are pulling against each other hard, convinced of their own righteousness. The mayor's lack of transparency fuels distrust and rebellion, while Juliet's drive to dismantle the system risks undermining the very structures that ensure survival. It's a precarious balance, and the parallels to our political climate are undeniable. One side seeks to undo everything built by the other, and the cycle of opposition feeds on itself. But does this actually reflect the non-local concept of non-duality on a deeper level? This quantum feature describes how two particles can be inherently attached in the subquantum level while appearing separate in the material world. These two entangled particles will spin in opposite directions. Does this exemplify the above-mentioned materialistic level of dualism we see in both the silo and our current struggles? Is this dualism a fundamental feature of nature? And if so, what can it teach us? This is what we are here to find out. What makes Silo so compelling is that it doesn't offer easy answers. The dualism is raw and real. Neither side is wholly right or wholly wrong. My sense is that Juliet will ultimately emerge as the heroine, bringing about meaningful change. But that change, if it comes, will likely look nothing like her initial vision. Facts about reality, not beliefs, will determine what's possible, no matter how inconvenient they may be. Perhaps the series will illuminate a path forward, not just for the silo, but for us. I imagine a future government within the silo that thrives on transparency, not secrecy. And wouldn't it be refreshing if this foreshadowed a similar evolution in our own world? A new paradigm, not born of revolution, but of reason and cooperation, where transparency and compassion become the cornerstone of progress. I'll be watching closely to see how this plays out and hoping it sparks ideas for how we might navigate our own crisis of sanity. But politics doesn't hold a monopoly on gatekeeping. Religious dogma is a very faithful protector of secrets. So I can also draw these same dualistic conclusions between organized Orthodox religion and open spiritual seeking. Worldwide Orthodox religions believe they each hold the secret keys to salvation, and that opaque approach has led to distrust in those systems. This fact brings me to my segue into our discussion today. I think I've mentioned before, I consider myself to be a disenfranchised Christian. I know I'm not alone in this space, having been alienated by what appears on the surface to be a human attempt to hold power over our souls. Now, before you get worked up over my wording, through my journey down my own brick road, I have come to have a deeper understanding of my own truths in regards to sitting right with the traditions I've grown up with, the teachings of wise people in the religious community of my youth, and my own scientific, analytical, curious mindset. I still hold the leaders of the churches I grew up with in the highest regard. I truly believe they were doing the good work. And although I still have trouble with what are clearly man-made assumptions about the road to heaven, I do have a much clearer understanding about the valuable underlying universal messages being taught by all of the mystics of the world. Joseph Selbie just knows how to strike the perfect F-sharp chord that resonates through it all and gives the reader the clear understanding of how the two disciplines, science and spirituality, are actually pointing at the same thing. The oneness of all, the existence of Source, or, if you wish, God. This is a sensitive subject for many, me included. And although I will use the word source, it is interchangeable with the word God. Refer to whichever you identify with most. The point is, this road brings us even closer to understanding our place in not only this world, but the universe as a whole. And it's truly a beautiful thing. In The Physics of God, Joseph Selbie explores the fascinating intersection between quantum physics, consciousness, and spirituality, bringing science and mysticism into a unified vision of reality. Today, we'll delve into one of the most remarkable demonstrations of quantum theory, the double-slit experiment. I've gone over it a little bit before. It is a doorway into understanding the nature of reality itself, so it's very important. And as you'll see, it ties into the holographic nature of our universe, and even what we know about the power of consciousness through the phenomenon of dissociative identity disorder. Imagine this, a beam of light, or even individual electrons, passing through two narrow slits. If you were to place a screen behind those slits, what pattern would you expect to see? You'd think the electrons or photons would travel like little marbles, landing in two straight lines corresponding to the slits, right? That's the logical Newtonian view of the world. Solid, predictable, mechanical. But here's the shocker. When no one observes the experiment, what appears on the screen isn't two lines of dots. Instead, we see an interference pattern, a wave-like design suggesting that particles are behaving like ripples of water, spreading out and interfering with each other. They exist not as solid objects, but as waves of possibility. And here's where it gets even stranger. The moment an observer measures which slit the electron goes through, the wave pattern collapses. The interference disappears. Instead, the particles behave as expected, like tiny marbles, forming two clear lines on the screen. It's as though the act of observing forces the universe to make a decision, to take form. Consciousness, it seems, has the power to collapse a wave of infinite possibilities into a single observed reality. The experiment is referred to as the double-slit experiment, and the conundrum it creates about an observer's interaction with the results is known as the intelligent observer paradox. Why is this so significant? The double-slit experiment challenges our perception of a solid, objective world. It reveals that at the quantum level, reality is fluid, probabilistic, and deeply interconnected. It's not out there independent of us. Instead, consciousness and observation are inseparable parts of how reality comes into being. This brings us to something extraordinary, the nature of the human mind itself. Consider dissociative identity disorder, or multiple personality disorder as it was once called. In cases of DID, The individuals manifest distinct personalities, each with its own thoughts, behaviors, and even physical traits. We've talked about this before in the holographic universe. Michael Talbot in that book describes documented cases where one personality could be diabetic while another was not. In some instances, a different personality could even have different allergies, eye prescriptions, or measurable physiological differences. How is this possible? These shifts occur not because the body changes on a biological level, but because consciousness is dictating which version of the body is being expressed. Almost as if each personality collapses its own unique reality into existence. Just like the observer in the double-slit experiment. It's a profound example of how deeply connected our consciousness is to the physical world we experience, underscoring the holographic nature of reality. Wow. If everything we experience is like a hologram, a three-dimensional image derived from a field of information, then what we perceive as solid and real is, at its core, an illusion. The quantum field beneath it all is limitless, non-local, and inseparable from consciousness itself. And here's where Dorothy's journey comes in. I'm sure you were wondering. Dorothy, too, believes she's navigating a solid, linear reality, the yellow brick road, Oz, the Wicked Witch. Yet at every turn, she's guided not by what's visible, but by deeper forces, courage, wisdom, love, the very same intangible energies that quantum physics suggests underpin our existence. The moment she pulls back the curtain and sees the truth, she realizes that Oz, like the illusion of the quantum hologram, wasn't what it seemed. So, how does this all tie together? Selbie argues that consciousness is the foundation of the universe. From the tiniest subatomic particle to the grandest galaxies, everything arises from an infinite, intelligent field of energy, one that mystics have described for millennia, and quantum physics is only now beginning to illuminate. What we observe as reality is shaped by our awareness, our intention, and our connection to this deeper realm. The double-slit experiment, the phenomenon of dissociative identity disorder, and the holographic nature of the universe all point to the same truth. Reality is not fixed, but emergent, not solid, but energetic. Just as different personalities in dissociative identity disorder can produce entirely distinct physical realities within the same body even, we too are participating in the creation of our world. Like Dorothy with her ruby slippers, we are far more powerful than we realize. Our awareness can shape the world, collapsing the infinite potentials of the quantum field into the life we want to experience. Remember, just like Dorothy on her journey, we are all navigating a quantum landscape, an illusion that points to something far more real, far more miraculous, just behind that curtain. The science of religion. When evaluating the validity of spiritual or religious beliefs, the inability to disprove something does not inherently make it true. Instead, we must look for shared and consistent experiences among individuals who have had profound, transcendent encounters. Across cultures and centuries, those who dedicate themselves to spiritual practices often report remarkably similar outcomes, states of deep peace, love, and awareness that transcends the physical world. These outcomes are not only consistent, but also repeatable. Much like reliable experiments in science, practices such as meditation, when approached with discipline and intention, consistently lead to transformative experiences. However, they require dedication, as our survival-driven bodies resist the stillness necessary for these breakthroughs. This depth, however, is difficult to discern when looking at organized religion on the surface. Contradictions and human interpretations often distort the original, profound truths of these teachings. The universal message of love and transcendence, as taught by figures like Christ, Buddha, and others, is frequently buried under dogma and used to justify division, brutality, or even exclusion. History is filled with examples of how the teachings of spiritual leaders have been twisted, not unlike how truth is manipulated in politics, science, and other fields where human egos clash for dominance. Orthodoxy tends to emphasize differences, focusing on exclusivity rather than shared truths, obscuring the profound commonalities at the heart of these traditions. The mystics, saints, and sages, the practitioners of transcendence, are the ones who truly embody the essence of spirituality. Their lives and teachings point to the same ultimate goal, achieved through two indispensable practices: stillness and inner absorption. As Agnes Asperon observed, mystics from diverse traditions often speak the same language, and their practices yield remarkably similar results. Stillness, a profound discipline, allows for the withdrawal of sensory input, making space for the subtler awareness of a transcendent reality. Historical examples abound, from Buddha meditating under the Bodhi tree for 49 days to Jesus fasting in the wilderness for the same time period. Stillness isn't just physical. It requires emotional stillness as well, a pairing that allows practitioners to quiet the mind and open themselves to the infinite. This discipline is not easy. The mind resists, likened by some traditions to a drunken elephant stumbling through a room. Yet, through devotion, focus, and consistent practice, individuals can achieve the stillness necessary for transcendence. Techniques vary across traditions. Some use chanting, some use breath observation or focusing attention on specific points, like the space between the eyebrows. But all aim to silence the sensory and mental chatter that keep us bound to physical awareness. Modern science has even documented the effects of these practices. Neuroimaging studies revealed decreased sensory activity during meditation, with practitioners' brains showing increased activities in areas associated with compassion, empathy, and higher reasoning. This alignment of spiritual practice and scientific observation suggests that meditation engages the most evolved parts of our brain, allowing us to access our highest qualities. While science measures these phenomena quantitatively, practitioners describe them qualitatively: feelings of unity, peace, and boundless love. In stillness, people report an awareness of realities beyond the physical, often described as heavenly or angelic. These experiences, once dismissed as anecdotal, have gained credibility, though, through studies of near-death experiences, otherwise known as NDEs. Advances in medicine have made NDEs more common, providing a wealth of accounts that are remarkably similar across cultures and belief systems. People who experience NDEs often describe encounters with beings of light, overwhelming love, and an awareness that death is not an end, but merely a transition. These accounts, studied by researchers like Eben Alexander and Lynn Claire Dennis, challenge materialist explanations and suggest the existence of realities beyond the physical. But why meditate? It is clear that it is great for stress relief and focusing on healing our physical bodies. It is also good for receiving downloads or information from the ether or source. But is this ultimately why we would develop a meditative practice? I'm not sure, and neither was Robert Monroe. founder of the Monroe Institute. Robert Monroe dedicated much of his life to teaching others how to achieve out-of-body experiences because he believed they held the key to understanding the deeper nature of consciousness and reality. Through his own spontaneous OBEs, Monroe discovered that the physical world was just one layer of a much larger, multidimensional existence. He saw these experiences as transformative, not only for personal growth, but for humanity's collective evolution. Monroe believed OBEs could provide direct access to higher levels of awareness, allowing individuals to transcend the limitations of this physical body and gain insight into their true nature. This exploration, in his view, was more than just a curiosity. It was a means of connecting with the essence of existence itself. Monroe's work also addressed one of humanity's deepest fears, death. By guiding others to experience life beyond the physical, he sought to demystify death and offer proof that consciousness persists. For Monroe, the ability to explore these dimensions wasn't just about personal enlightenment. It was about giving humanity a tool to understand its place in the cosmos and to access the vast potential that lies within each of us. What makes Monroe's work even more remarkable is his dedication to scientific rigor. He founded the Monroe Institute, which has been conducting studies and collecting data on altered states of consciousness for decades. The Institute developed the Gateway Program. It's a series of guided meditative exercises designed to help participants achieve expanded states of awareness. Using sound technology like HemiSync, which Monroe pioneered, the program enables individuals to access altered states of consciousness in a structured and reproducible way. This commitment to blending experiential practice with scientific investigation has positioned Monroe's work as a bridge between spiritual exploration and empirical understanding, making his contributions to the field of consciousness studies invaluable. I really want to go to the Institute. That would be so cool. Maybe eventually. So, in keeping with the idea that Monroe's work puts forth, I want to take a moment to share another thought that has been quietly forming in my mind. What if deep meditation leading to OBE is essential to our collective survival as a species? Stick with me here. Humanity has long been captivated by questions about our place in the cosmos. Why are we here? Are we, as some have suggested, a civilization among many that have risen and fallen in the cyclical dance of Earth's history? Legends, artifacts, or relics, and even emerging scientific theories hint at the possibility that we are not the first or only civilization to ever walk this planet. Scholars like Graham Hancock suggest that structures like the pyramids may be enduring symbols of past cycles of human achievement. If this is true, it raises unsettling but important questions. What caused their downfall? And what can we do to avoid the same fate? Modern science is just beginning to take these questions seriously, as evidenced by space programs that aim to identify Earth-like planets or detect potentially catastrophic asteroids. But here's the thing. While some solutions involve going outward, off-planet, to colonize Mars or beyond, I believe there is also an inward path to explore, one that is perhaps just as vital and revolutionary. Throughout history, shamans, meditators, psychonauts, and those who have experienced near-death states or OBEs have described a reality beyond the physical, an interconnected field of consciousness. What if learning to access this state is not merely about spiritual enlightenment, but about transcending our physical limitations altogether? What if the future of humanity depends on mastering the ability to explore and exist beyond the confines of the material world? I know this is like a mind-blowing thought, actually. But what if the voluntary ability of our conscious selves to leave our bodies would allow the kind of long-term space travel imagined in movies, for example? What if this is also fundamentally how cryo would work? What if this is the realm in which coma patients exist? Or even walkabout for Alzheimer's? I don't know. These are all just my crazy thoughts about it. There are some incredible implications if this were ever proved to be true. Selbie's work challenges us to consider these profound implications of meditation and altered states of consciousness. These practices may not just connect us to higher truths, they may also hold the key to understanding our role in the cosmos and ensuring our survival in ways we've only begun to imagine. It may just be our calling, and shamans and mystics have been trying to show us how for eons. Look, the parallels between the scientific method and spiritual exploration are striking. Both rely on consistency and repeatability. Just as scientific experiments must produce reproducible results, spiritual practices, when performed with discipline and intention, lead to consistent outcomes. Both disciplines offer profound insights into the nature of reality, but their union provides a more complete picture. While science focuses on the physical, religion and spirituality delve into the transcendent. Together, they reveal a reality that is both tangible and infinite, a unified understanding of existence that bridges matter and spirit, offering a glimpse into the physics of God. I don't know about you, but I am really seeing a lot of dots connecting Selbie's points. And he wrote this book. It was released in 2017, and the points made by Michael Talbot in 1991. The Physics of God was published a full 26 years after Talbot's book, The Holographic Universe, hit the scene. Both gentlemen present compelling arguments with credible sources to support one of the foundations that I'm wanting to get across here. There is a miraculous quantum field that exists beyond our senses. And that field gives us a mechanism for understanding and validating scientifically what the saints and sages have been saying throughout the ages. On a level beyond what our senses can perceive, we are all connected. This means we have a responsibility to each other. This may be hard for some to swallow, but today, in 2024, quantum physicists are working hard to prove this mathematically. In the next chapter, we will dig in a little deeper to Selbie's work, and quantum theory will continue to be woven into the material I bring to you over the course of this project, as it is a critical part of the punchline here on Yellow Brick Road Rash. Yes, there is a punchline, and it is profound. So please stay with me. Keep watching. Do you have a meditative practice? One that, through stillness, enables you to transcend your physicality and sense the essence of the unseen universe? If so, please share your technique with us in the comments. I know some people struggle with knowing how to begin. My personal favorite at the moment is listening to guided meditations. It really is an easy way to get started. But the trick is not falling asleep. As we close, I want to reflect on another idea that's been circling in my mind: the seventh heaven. What if this isn't just a poetic reference to divine realms, but a description of a vibrational state, a level of consciousness that represents the pinnacle of human spiritual potential? Modern neuroscience has mapped 5 distinct brainwave states: gamma, beta, alpha, theta, and delta. But what if there are levels beyond what we can currently measure or experience with our physical senses? If we think about the seventh heaven as the highest vibrational state, it could respond to a level of awareness that transcends materiality entirely, where we experience pure unity with the divine, free from ego and separation. What about the 6th level then? The 6th level, by contrast, could represent the slowest, most primal state, a connection to the infinite void or source from which all creation emerges. Together, these 7 levels could form a vibrational spectrum with humanity poised somewhere right in the middle, striving upward towards enlightenment and divine communion, with our feet planted firmly on the ground. This ties beautifully into Selbie's insights about meditation as a bridge to higher consciousness. Meditation isn't just a tool for relaxation, it's sort of a portal. It allows us to access states of awareness that bring us closer to this 7th level, closer to understanding the divine truths that ancient wisdom has hinted at for centuries. The practice of quieting the mind and tuning into our inner world might be humanity's greatest calling, a way to move beyond the illusions of separation and into the heart of reality itself. Perhaps 7th heaven is less about a destination and more about an invitation, a reminder that the path upward lies within us. Through the vibrational levels we can explore with tools like meditation. As we move deeper into Selbie's work, this idea of connecting to higher vibrational states will keep surfacing. For now, it's worth pondering. If we have access to this vibrational ladder, what's stopping us from climbing? On a side note, the story of Jacob's ladder comes to mind. It's from the book of Genesis, chapter 28, verses 10 through 19, and tells of Jacob's dream during his journey to Haran. In the dream, Jacob sees a ladder extending from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending on it. At the top of the ladder stands God, who reaffirms his covenant with Jacob, promising him descendants and blessing. When Jacob wakes, he declares the place holy, naming it Bethel, meaning house of God. Metaphorically, Jacob's ladder is often interpreted as a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms, representing the connection between humanity and the divine. It symbolizes a path of spiritual ascent, where one rises through stage of awareness or understanding to draw closer to God. This ladder can also be seen as a metaphor for personal growth or enlightenment, moving step by step toward a higher state of consciousness. This ties beautifully to the concept of vibrational levels and the ladder of consciousness mentioned earlier. Jacob's ladder can represent the idea of ascending through vibrational states, starting from our earthly awareness at the lower levels like beta or delta, and climbing towards the divine unity, the metaphorical 7th heaven. Each rung could correspond to a higher frequency of awareness, where angels ascending and descending symbolize the interplay between our spiritual efforts and divine assistance. In a way, Jacob's ladder reflects the same theme as meditation and the quest for higher consciousness, that there is a pathway upward, connecting us to the divine, and it's one we're invited to climb. It's a powerful visual to tie into the discussion of vibrational levels, reinforcing the idea we are all capable of ascending towards that ultimate state of connection and enlightenment. It may, in fact, be our calling. Divinely inspired text indeed. Okay, now I'm done. Thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm sending out big love and gratitude to you guys. You are what make this channel possible. I'm out.